Hello, I am Ariane. This is Book Zealots, and we have 2 months left of the year. This is crazy to think. October wrap up. I have my pile of books right here on Prometheus's chair. I have my notes because I know there was at least one library book. And I'm going to start backwards, I think. Hang on a minute. No, I lied. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna start from the top. Okay, so the first book that I read, and thank you everybody for doing the little voting on the community page. That was fun. I loved your answers for Prometheus. That was great. And apparently you all know me. Apparently you guys know what I like to read. And so my first book, Surprise Kill Vanish by Annie Jacobsen. The Secret History of CIA Paramilitary Armies, Operators, and Assassins. Wow. Just wow. This was fantastic, and if you think you know about this organization, like I did, there's still a lot to learn because of their black ops and how everything is secret. But I do want to say that there was information in here about a guy, and I thought, that name sounds very familiar. I know I read a book by him, so I'm going to put it here. First in Afghanistan by, I think his name was Gary Schroen or something. And he's mentioned in here, and I did not like the way that operative went, that operation went. Using our taxpayers' money to help the Taliban, to eliminate our United States soldiers, and giving money to the enemy to buy trucks and whatnot, and then the money just disappearing and the truck never showing up, or the fuel tanker never showing up, or ad infinitum. It's not funny. And that wasn't in this book, that was in Gary's book. So there's a CIA agent in here who has obviously passed away, but wow, that man was really impressive. I forget his name right now. I'll put it here. Being able to be that active and mobile and tough at such an old age just is so inspiring. I really liked this book. There was something else that I wanted to mention about this book. What was it? Don't remember now. So I mentioned the Gary guy. I mentioned... okay. When the military men, hardcore, has seen it all, group of people of the CIA went into Afghanistan to train a group of soldiers, our men were disgusted and wanted to file charges against these men in Afghanistan for their vile behavior. They were disgusted. Think about that. Yeah, that is gross. So just a heads up, if you decide to read this, there is a part in here. I mean, who are we kidding? It's about people. And who's in charge of that? Just guess. But based on JFK, who's really in charge of it? I'm just, questions. I have all kinds of questions. This was a great book. I will be keeping it. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Michal, We all say Michael here in America, but this is not how you say the name because there's no E. This is by Jill Eileen Smith. This is a Christian fiction book. Anyone who is a lover of Christian fiction, if you haven't read this book yet, I do recommend it. This definitely ended on a very positive note, and I was happy for that because we don't know a lot about her in the Bible, and it ends on her being against King David worshiping God. How he wanted to worship God, jumping around and being free and apparently embarrassing her. Now, there's information in this book that is not in the Bible, but I enjoyed it. It was a nice light read, which I just want to kind of sidebar here. The books that I read are generally what I call, I try to name my books as food. This would be meat and potatoes. It's very tough, sometimes hard to chew, sometimes hard to swallow. Chew it well and then swallow. This is kind of what I would call dessert, which I don't have very often. And then there are other books that are kind of like a side dish or a salad, what have you, right? I don't know if I'm going to do something like that next year. Kind of mulling things over. And yeah, anyway, moving on. Okay. Oh, and if you're not familiar with who this was King David's first wife. She was the daughter of King Saul. King Saul was demonic. He was crazy, tyrannical, nut job. And the next one, okay, so this one was strictly an audio book. Y'all know I'm not oral. That's not my cup of tea. I am definitely a visual person, and even if I do an audio book, I have the physical book in front of me. This one, I did not. Luckily, it was very short. But it fits a bingo prompt for, drum roll please, for female pirate. I had started another book, hated it, had to DNF it, and I'm so glad I did because Grace O'Malley, very good book. It's not that long, like I said, and I think for a breakdown of pages, I think it's 73 pages because I did try to look it up. I loved this book. I loved the history. It takes place during the time period of Queen Elizabeth I. And of course she's in Ireland, but she does a little bit of traveling, a little bit of piracy, whatnot. Okay. She wasn't as, I'm going to say as loose as, immorality wasn't as loose as that other lady that I was trying to read. But there is a man that she proposes to. I don't know. For a year, she haunts it. No, okay, no, she doesn't. She stalks it. No, okay, she doesn't do that. For a year, and he does end up marrying her. Spoiler alert. Anyways, I liked the part where she meets Queen Elizabeth I, and Queen Elizabeth doesn't know Gaelic, and Grace O'Malley doesn't know, what was the other one? She didn't know, was it French? I don't remember now. So they both ended up speaking Latin or something, which I thought was fascinating. I really would love to be a polyglot. Maybe one of these days. Anyway, if you still need to do that prompt, I recommend Grace O'Malley. It was so fascinating. Oh, and there's more about the meeting of Queen Elizabeth and Grace too, but I don't want to give too much information. Another book I read, The Most Important Place on Earth, and this was for Paperback and Ponytails read along, and I don't have that paper in front of me, it's on my desk. This one, you know what? I'm having brain fog because I don't remember hating it. I don't remember loving it. I don't remember it, which is not good because I remember books from... I could probably tell you a little bit about every single book that I've read this year, and I know Prometheus and I have done that one year. At the very end of the year I talked about all of the books, and the only books that I couldn't break down were the Mitford series. I couldn't pinpoint what happened in each book, but I could vaguely tell you. Anyway, I don't know what a Christian home looks like and how to build one. I don't even have my notes down here. I don't have any tabs in here. I would have to go through it and refresh my memory, but I'm gonna say maybe skip it. If you've read this book, let me know what you thought of it. I'm sad that I don't remember anything of it. That's not good in my opinion. Okay. I finally got to this book, The Cyber Effect by Mary Aiken, PhD. She is a cyber psychologist. Okay. A pioneering cyber psychologist explains how human behavior changes online. Oh, wow. This was published in 2016. So almost 10 years, and things are worse than what was happening then, and predictions. Wow. And so Prometheus and I had a discussion this weekend. So Prometheus and I were having a conversation about the psychology of people who grew up with electronics and tablets or computers or what have you, and the lack of frontal lobe growth because they are stunted, they are in arrested development, there's no maturity, and it's gotten worse. I see these things not so much in public because I live in a small community and everybody behaves themselves because we're, Southern. And so people are very polite and get along and aren't rude. Can I talk about that though for a hot minute? Because driving to the bigger town, Prometheus hates it. He is having such a hard time adjusting because people are so rude. Okay, so that being said, if you can get your hands on this, I say yes. This was worth the read. I'm glad I got it, but just wow. So one of the things that I have highlighted is talking about, should there be a measure of irresistibility as in most likely to cause immobility and addictive behavior? Here's a thought. Be accountable for your choices. Be accountable. You eat too much? Stop it. Be accountable. You doing drugs? Stop it. Be accountable. You addicted to this? Stop it. Be accountable. Anything, right? We have to balance our time, and the only way to do that is to be accountable and then make the changes, and make the changes become a better habit. I'm getting off my soapbox. This is fantastic. There are some disgusting parts in this because she does go on a ride along. There are some dark places on the internet that probably shouldn't be allowed, which reminds me of a Jack Reacher book that I read, but yes. Okay, so I'm glad I read it. I will be unhauling it. The Year of Living Biblically by A.J. Jacobs. This book is not to be taken seriously, but it wasn't humorous. It wasn't. He had very bad shepherding for the Jewish religion, and he had even worse shepherding in the Christian religion. Everything is wrong with this book. I don't recommend it. I'm not even going over it. It's not worth our time. Then for Victober, I actually got a book read. I did. I've had this book for almost 2 decades, I think. Victoria's Daughters by Jerrold M. Packard. I don't like Victoria. I don't like her as a queen, and I didn't like her as a mother. She was not a good person. And I kind of wonder if she would have been better had she been raised differently, or if it would have mattered at all. I don't know. But that psychology is fascinating. It's unfortunate that her daughters were pawns. If you like royalty, I highly recommend it. It was fascinating. I liked some of her daughters. I felt sorry for every single one of them, though, honestly. And some of the men that they had to marry were not good husbands. That's all I'm going to say there. Wait a minute. Oh, there is a principal characters list, which is fantastic, and there is somewhat of a family tree. So, the Louise, poor woman, Louise. And Louise did become a sculptor, and from this book, really good one. And she also started, trying to think what it was, she started some sort of program for women. I'm sure I have it marked. Anyway, so, oh, there was Helena and Christian. So Helena is known as Lynchen, nickname. Their oldest son had an illegitimate daughter in 1900. She was born in 1900. I did not know that, but, you know, I'm not really into royalty, but hey, I read for Victober. Yay me. Okay, and then the last book that I read was actually a read-along, or I don't know what you want to call it. It was reading suggestion by Rob Pirie. I don't know if he's already read this book or not. I don't know how to follow along, but this is book number 6 that he recommended. Discourse on Voluntary Servitude, Why People Enslave Themselves to Authority by Etienne de la Boetie. This was interesting. This was very interesting. And I am currently reading a book for November that ties in with this. And Prometheus and I had a really good talk about this one as well, because this book was published originally in 1577? Yes, it was originally published in 1577. So, the opinions of this French guy on servitude and tyranny was interesting, and it obviously mentioned King of Syria, King of Sparta or something, which sent me down a rabbit hole. But there's always a few people who think outside the box and don't follow along, regardless of the brainwashing, regardless of the gaslighting, etc. There are always those few. And then he finally mentions it on page 21. These are the ones who, having good minds of their own, have further trained them by study and learning, even if liberty had entirely perished from the earth, such men would invent it. For them, slavery has no satisfactions, no matter how well disguised. So obviously, in America, there was slavery and there were revolts, because there will always be those people who think outside the box, who have a mind of their own. And so this was really good, and obviously sent me down a rabbit hole. And in one of these books, it ties into this, which I love when that happens. I love that, and completely by accident. It's not like I thought, oh, I should go read up on, the Romans and how awful they were, which I'm currently doing. Anyway, so those were my books. I think that's all of them. Those were my books for October. Please leave a comment down below and let me know how your October went, what books you read, and if there was a favorite. And thank you again for playing in the polls on the community section, on the community page, and playing along. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody. You guys are snarky, you cheeky little monkeys. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.